Shorter box, shorter keyboard. Compact, very it is. Very compact. Hi guys, Matthew here and welcome back again to my channel. It's hard to believe, but it's almost been a year since the original G915 wireless mechanical keyboard came out. I actually had a chance to check it out a few months after its release. Feel free to check that video later on if you wish to. But today I managed to get my hands on the brand new G915 TKL version right as it launched. Although you will think that this is the same keyboard in question, with of course deleted numpad portion, and essentially you would be right, but there is more to it. Design and build quality wise, not a lot has changed, that's for sure. It's very clean and straightforward, the top plate has that rounded edges and it's completely made out of brushed metal, aluminum alloy to be precise, giving it that more premium feel to it and very sturdy construction, even more so now since it's denser in size. Instead of being 475mm wide, the G915 TKL now measures 368mm in that regard, so that's over 100mm of difference. The thickness is the same, just a smidge above 20mm. This is sort of weird if you consider that the Logitech G915 TKL is a mechanical keyboard, but here we come to another feature set for which his bigger brother is also known for: switches. These are Logitech's low-profile GL switches based on the KL Chalk switch PG1350, and the same ones are also being used in the regular model. They are also offering them in 3 different variants for this model: GL Clicky, that's the one I currently have here with me, GL Tactile and GL Linear, all differing in activation point and force, feedback and sound profile that they provide. This is basically one of the main reasons why the keyboard is so thin in profile, which sort of makes any wrist rest useless because it would probably raise them too high in relation to the keyboard. You do have an option to raise the keyboard's backend thanks to the 2-stage standoffs, and I actually found the first lower 4-degree angle appropriate for this keyboard in my case. Back here you can also see a couple of rubber feet for better surface grip, as well as a new addition of this sort of like carrying storage place for the receiver, which is a cool and practical add-on. Moving to the backside, you will find your on and off switch for the keyboard and a micro USB connection, for which you will get a 1.8 meter long braided cable. And yes, you can use the keyboard and charge it at the same time, and no, I don't know why they still don't use USB-C connector, although some of their devices have them. Speaking of the battery, there's actually some good news. Although you would think that you will be greeted by a worse battery life performance, since it's a smaller keyboard in question, so potentially it carries a smaller battery too, but if you count in the fact that almost a quarter of the keyboard is gone, meaning that there are fewer keys to be lit up, which then translates into longer battery life. Granted, that is if the battery capacity is the same, and by the looks of it, it probably is, because the full-size model was rated at 30 hours of autonomy with a fully backlit keyboard, while the G915 TKL is rated at higher 40 hours. I, for example, don't need the backlighting to be on, and the end result of that case is that I got even more battery life, so your mileage can vary depending on that. So, what about the keyboard's layout? Well, besides getting rid of the numpad portion, which comes in as a compromise of having a much smaller footprint, and a lot of users will be happy to make that trade, they also made a few other changes. Firstly, we don't have dedicated G programmable keys on the left side of the keyboard anymore, making it even more compact. We also don't have any dedicated memory profile switches. They are now nested with the first 4 function keys, the last one being the macro record switch. You can activate them using the FN key, which overall makes them a little bit less practical. Because all of this, the RGB Logitech Gaming G logo is now moved right above the escape key. The big buttery smooth volume wheel is still present, tucked away in the right top corner of the keyboard, but they did move the rubberized media keys, which are right below it, and now put them left of it along the top edge of the keyboard. With this, the Lightspeed logo, battery and caps lock LED indicator lights were moved to the middle, while the rest of the switches also got bumped basically all the way to the left corner of the keyboard. Here we have the brightness switch, game mode switch for disabling certain keys so you can avoid triggering them while playing, like for example Windows key, Bluetooth switch for pairing and connecting your keyboard with other devices, for example your tablet or smartphone, and lastly the wireless lightspeed switch for getting back to the wireless connection over the dongle. Speaking of the Lightspeed technology, although a long time ago it was hard to put gaming and wireless in the same sentence, today that's completely different. With this technology, Logitech was able to bring down the latency next to none, and it really feels like that when using it. Without doing any serious testing, I couldn't differ it from a wired keyboard. The 2.4 GHz receiver communicated flawlessly with the keyboard in my case, and if you want to, you can pair it with the cable and USB adapter hub from the bundle, so you can move it around wherever you like and have an optimal connection in case your PC is too far. Since we are already talking about the user experience, although I love this particular layout, key size and their placement, to be honest, I'm personally not too keen on TKL keyboards. Before all, that's because I don't game a lot on my main PC. Nowadays I basically only do some driving in iRacing on it. Plus, I do use the numpad a lot, as I edit documents, use a couple of content creation tools and other applications, so it's just not practical for me to use it. Putting that aside, looking at it from the perspective of being really small and compact, I do love that approach, but I don't think I would rather take that in exchange for better workflow. My muscle memory just kicked in while I was using it. A couple of times I ended up reaching and grabbing for some air next to it. What do I like about it before all is the fact that this is a mechanical keyboard. I love that clicky clacky sound and feedback which these particular switches provide, although this one is a bit too clicky for my taste. Then again, it is a clicky model, the name of the switch tells you that right away. I would personally go for the GL Tactile in this case. Here is a short sound clip of how the switches sound and compared to the Cherry MX Brown switch on my DAS keyboard. Since I get a lot of questions about the 2-row enter key, usually found on the keyboards which I'm reviewing, and since it depends on the region you are living and what ISO standard does that region most commonly use, I assume that a lot of you will be interested in the exact part number of this 2-row enter key version of the G915 TKL keyboard, so I'm showing you now the particular part number for this cue so you can search for it a bit more easily. Of course, all of this is accompanied by Logitech's G-Hub software utility, which at the time of making this video still didn't have an updated version that could recognize the new G915 TKL model, but I assume it won't be any different with what I've experienced feature-wise when using the regular G915. You will be able to control the backlighting for the keys in 16.8 million different colors and probably the same amount of lighting effects, set up your profiles, macros and keys, and of course check out the precise battery level, because the LED indicator on the keyboard is not that telling. The price? Oh, the price. Well, you all know that the fully sized one starts at around $250, which is unthinkably high for a keyboard. Yeah, you have an option to go for the G815, which is basically the same keyboard, only wired and thus cheaper, but still, this one will also bottom out your wallet. Their prices basically haven't dropped since then. You can maybe grab them on a discount here and there, but generally speaking they stayed put. With that said, expectedly the G915 TKL sits in between those two models with the official price tag of $230, while they are also offering it in white color, which is a new one for this series. Again, this is a lot of money for a keyboard, but on the other hand, it is a really unique model and Logitech seems to know what it has in its hand, although ever since the original wireless mechanical keyboard came out, that being their G613 model, there has been a lot of attempts from other manufacturers to provide something similar, like Keychron for example, which has really grown in popularity. Cooler Master also made a quite compelling offer with their SK651 and SK631 models, but to my understanding they never became available except their wired versions. Anyhow, the user experience is pretty much the same compared to its non-TKL model, so you know what are you going to get. The only question is, are you willing to pay your hard-earned money for it? That's it for this time from me, guys. Thank you once again for watching. Please take a second to toss me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my content, that really helps a lot. And if you like what you saw, feel free to subscribe, and if you already are, be sure to press that notification bell down below so you don't miss out on a new video. And until then, catch you later, guys.